what does community look like when it's not based around having a family or play dates? Like, what
Yeah.
does that community look like when you're traveling um
And living in different
and
places
living
like
in different
every 3 or 4 months or
like
6 months.
what does
Yeah.
that look like, and like it's important, especially as we get older, to just like think about how we want to be in relationship with each other.
I want you to breathe. I want you to breathe. I want you to breathe.
Hello friends, we're back for Black and Curious. I'm Kandrin,
What up? What up? It's Stasia. How y'all doing?
and we're back. If you've never been here before, we do a cross section of pop culture in real life, and just how the two interact with each other. So if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and drop down and subscribe to our channel, like this video. And we're here multiple times a week, so join in the fun. What is our topic for today?
So, coming off the heels of our last conversation, we were doing a lot of redefining how we're approaching goals as it relates to the new year. And with it being the start of spring, we wanted to start talking about community
Mm,
and how we're building community specifically out of the goals conversation. So, that last chit chat we had, I basically kind of talked to you guys about like being excited about the places that we're in and the new communities that we're finding ourselves in and what
yeah.
that looks like. Um, and I think that the jumping off point was just kind of like once you realize that like how you've been living up until said point has not been working out for you, or the things that you want to tweak, you start kind of you start kind of exploring as well as looking at new ways to exist in the world, and your communities
Yeah.
change because of that. For me specifically, I can speak to uh definitely being in the end of my 30s and coming to a place of like kind of just redefining how I want to live out the rest of my life,
Mm-hmm.
and um doing work and life in a totally different fashion. Shout out to one of our friends of the show, Sharita, who's like our what we call our pivot coach.
Yeah.
She is also known on Instagram as the digital nomad, and she has basically talked to us about like leaving corporate America and being like, she was a corporate lawyer and she was just kind of like, this is not it. Like, I don't want to do any of this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And just like letting go of all of her worldly things as it relates to like how we live here in the United States, like American
Yeah.
culture, you got to have home and car and all this jazz, and
And I
just
think we
living.
talked about it in the previous conversation also, just letting go of the status, because there is a certain level of status that goes along with saying that you're a corporate lawyer as well.
Yeah. And just kind of like letting all that go and leaving the world as she knew it behind to do something totally different
Yeah.
than what her culture, or what our culture and what our society tells us that we need to do as young Black professionals and Black
Yeah.
women in this country.
Yeah. And I think too, you know, people are, I think community is just important in terms of, for me anyways, I was very much raised in a communal environment. I was very much raised by the village. So it is something that I look for in other, as I've gotten older, especially more and more, I'm looking for community. And I live in a very transient place. So it has to be an intentional sort of endeavor to
Mhm.
find community and like build community. And honestly, I've built it and it's left, and I've built it and it's left. So it can be an ongoing process. So it's something that we wanted to talk about. And then especially with women being achieving at higher rates, and some opting to be single, or you know, or even just choosing a different life like Sharita, in her traveling and stuff like that. Like, what does community look like when it's not based around having a family or play dates? Like, what
Yeah.
does that community look like when you're traveling um
And living in different
and
places
living
like
in different
every three or
places?
four months or six
Like,
months.
what does
Yeah.
that look like, and like it's important, especially as we get older, to just like think about how we want to be in relationship with each other.
We
um
need more community for us to come together and be like, okay, that is just your 9 to 5, your A to B to, you know, so that you can eat. But let's figure out whatever other things it is that you enjoy that we can put into your life that
Yeah.
would get you to where it is that you want to be. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to jump from the 9 to 5, the monotony, to like living this grandiose life, but it could
Mhm.
very well be that you do the thing that you need to so that you can survive and be comfortable to a degree, and then slowly start walking towards the things that you actually want, you know?
Mhm. Absolutely.
I feel like community is a huge thing that a lot of us are lacking. And to the point of one of the other speakers on that clip, the first one, um, everybody's so separated. So there is no conversation around like people. There are young people out here that are doing these great things that there's no community for. What I love now is that I'm starting to see more people talking about these things.
It's like just asking the question and like coming from a place of good genuine
Curiosity, not
curiosity,
like,
and like even
yeah.
offering to help people a little bit on the free side. I know like the girls don't do free anymore and I don't blame them, but like sometimes it's worth it to just learn something new
Hello.
that you can apply to your life. Like,
I agree. I think the biggest takeaway that I've said it a couple of times in the last few minutes is like we need more community. Like this
absolutely.
constant separation of, you don't talk about how much you make, and you don't talk about, you know, like money and all these things across. I think those are like psychological constructs to keep people separated. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Like if we had more conversation around just openness and curiosity, which is the purpose of our podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think our world would be very different in
yeah.
terms of like the US alone. I think we would be very different because a lot of the TikTokers that I follow that are from Africa and the different countries there, they have said that like the thing that they notice when they come here from, you know, their homeland is that like this is so individual. Like there's no community. They're not
Yeah.
outside of their own people, and like, or people that are from, you know, similar backgrounds. You don't get that here. There
Yeah.
are similarities to some degree, but a lot of it is very separate. And I hope to be a part of the change of that dynamic as far as American culture is concerned, and like creating community that accepts everybody and their
Yeah.
curiosity, and not always wanting to be on the defense about certain things. Like some things are
Agreed.
personal to you, but like work and like experience and things that might help to change people or open up a mindset. I don't see the problem. So
Sure.
mhm.
So we're gonna talk through that a lot this month, and we're gonna try to approach it at some different angles, if you will. So, and some different perspectives. So we're gonna have
Of course
guests. Maybe
we'll
we can
have
get
guests.
Sharita to come back too. I love talking to Sharita on here, but yeah. So if you have like questions or tips on how you have like really built community, especially um as you've gotten older,
Mhm.
let us know in the comments. We want to talk about it and we want to hear from you. So.